Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Dev Randhawa from F3 Uranium. In this interview, we discuss Dev's history in the Athabasca Basin, how F3 fission came to be, and Dev has a lot of interesting thoughts about the junior markets and the uranium sector as a whole that I think you guys are going to find interesting. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Dev, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
So you're a guy that's been around the junior markets for a number of years, and
Right.
The last couple of years have been, for the most part, pretty quiet. Not necessarily the best years, except for in uranium, we have seen some life come to some of these stocks. For the most part, though, most of the explorers haven't come anywhere near the returns of the spot price. F3, on the other hand, is one of the better performing ticker symbols out there. Not quite keeping up with the spot price, but definitely doing better than most of the other names. I'm curious, what's your assessment right now of the Canadian junior markets as a whole, and then also specifically what's happening in uranium?
Well, I mean, at least there's a bit of life. I would say that you asked me a week ago, my answer would have been darker. But in the last week, watching gold, break through new highs, watching copper up 15%. So you're seeing life in the commodities. But I think you're right. If you go back, absolutely, there hasn't been a lot of life. We had a lot of life in lithium last year, and then the price collapsed. The one thing that's been consistent is uranium. Like you're right. I've been doing, 1996, I started coming to Strathmore, and if it wasn't for support from guys like Rick Rule at the time, Adrian Day, Doug Casey, Bob Bishop, I'm not sure we would have lasted that long. So from my perspective, it's been a long, hard road. And a lot of it has been in a bear market. Now, a bear market can serve you well. If you've got cash, it's a good time to buy assets. And we were able to do that. And then you get into a good market, you can start joint venturing those things off. So, but overall, I would say the market's better. And just in the last week, just seeing, gold and even some of the silver stocks, they've tripled. So you're seeing life. I'm seeing life in a lot of sectors that I haven't seen, even in a buddy's mind in the healthcare business. So I don't know if people are finally moving back away from Bitcoin back into stocks. I don't know. I'm not my main my expertise is hiring the right technical people, financing them, and as a team we go out and find uranium, and we've been able to do that 3 times, which is unheard of. And so, but those are my comments as a generalist, that I'm seeing life that we didn't see even 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so for our audience who's sort of new to the F3 story or the Strathmore story, you mentioned that you found 3 discoveries. What would those be?
Well, one was a company called Fission Energy. We had a joint venture with a Korean electric power company. They financed it. It was our property. They put up all the money, the $15 million. We made the discovery. We sold that to Lucas Lundin, the late great Lucas Lundin, if I can say that. And that was Denison. Denison took that project out. We took the non-core project, started another company called Fission Uranium, which is still around today, market cap almost $1 billion, FCU. We took that group of properties that were non-core, found bolters, which led to our discovery, which then led to Arrow's next gen property. So, and that's a unique story because prior to that discovery, the general thesis in the uranium industry was that all deposits were going to be at the unconformity. There's a certain style of deposits. They're going to be like MacArthur. They're going to be like Cigar Lake. So don't be silly and go to the west side of the basin, okay? And don't go outside the basin. You've got to stay inside the basin. Well, our technical team didn't believe in those things. They said, let's just try it. We ran an airplane, found Boulder, led to our discovery, led to Arrow. So if it wasn't for that thinking differently, there would be no next gen, there would be no SCU. But we made that discovery. Again, we took the non-core assets and started a company called F3, which is where we are today. And F3 has discovered the JR zone. So the first one was the J zone. Then we found the triple R, and now we found the JR zone on our PLN project. So Ray, Sam, and previously Ross, together as a team, have been prolific. It's very hard to find uranium in the basin because it's down so deep, and it takes a lot more geophysics and geoscience than geology expertise, because you're having to try to predict what's below all the sandstone, and et cetera, et cetera. So we're fortunate to have made 3 of them, and at the same time being able to monetize these projects too. For example, we've Denison Mines put in $15 million and own 6% of our company. So we've also bring in, not only are we finding uranium, we're able to bring in money from important sources. So you stay well financed, and it gives you another independent verification that you're going the right direction when a big multi-billion-dollar company like Denison, puts money in you at a premium to the stock.
So you mentioned the investment from Denison Mines, which my understanding is actually convertible debt.
Right.
What's behind the decision to take on convertible debt when you already have a large cash position?
Well, at the time we didn't. Of our hard money right now, it's about 25 million. If you take the 15 off, you're down to 10, right?
Okay.
So the idea, the old saying works. You take money when you can, not when you have to. So people were offering us money, and I thought getting money from, a large group would give more of a stamp than doing another deal with ABC banker. So because those guys, Denison went through our data room. They, there's quite a process, right, for them to go through due diligence wise. And that's what makes me proud, is we passed that test. They looked at our drill results. Okay, they make sense. That makes sense. Okay, let's invest. And David Cates, their CEO, is a wonderful guy to work with. We've had a long history, but this time, we got it done in magic time. They were telling me it would take a month or something with, because debentures are so big, and what happens here, what happens at XBC, all those different things, different scenarios where they're protected and we're protected. Debentures take a time, but they were fantastic to work with.
Do you not fear, though, with convertible debt, that it almost kind of puts an expiration date on your company? Like now you're sort of on the clock. You've got to go you've really got to go expand on that discovery that you've already made. No. So no, you don't feel that way?
There's no pressure on us, because tomorrow morning we could raise, whatever money and pay that back if we want. The other thing is, we put the money to work at 5.5%. So the rate there was 9%, but really it's 4% on the money, and we can use shares to pay, right? So it wasn't much. But I saw it as more of a adding cash, but making sure, it's a sense of signal to the market that we have somebody who's done real due diligence. So,
yeah. Okay, so if we're talking about the PLN area projects,
right,
and specifically the JR zone where you guys hit that really big intercept, they're almost 7% over 15 meters. Can you give us any idea of what kind of royalties are on these projects? Are there any royalties?
There's none. No, there's no royalties in our projects. Every one of our projects we staked. The only exception is one project where we swapped land with Canalaska, and we gave each other royalties on each one in case we something was found.
Okay.
But every other, out of 15 out of the 16 projects, we staked that land from the government for pennies in bear markets. And if you're cashed up in a bear market, boy, you pick up some, I would say some good targets. And that's what these are. Every one of these projects are just what the technical team saw and said, hey, this has got a chance. We stake it. And the whole idea, our whole thesis is the same. You take a project, you move it along, ground geophysics, or you're flying it, then you make it, there's certain things you must look for. You must look for conductors. You must look for alteration. These are all boxes you have to tick. And once you've ticked them, then you drill. But you don't do any of those things because drilling is very expensive in the basin. And I mean expensive. Holes can cost $300,000 and cost $500,000. Well, for $250,000, you can do a whole area, and do, lots of EM in the area, or some gravity surveys. You can do a lot of work with one drill hole money. So we're very careful before we drill. But you got 16 projects. It's about moving them all along methodically to drill stage. And that's what we're trying to do, is get to drill stage and find another deposit. Right now, our focus, though, is completely on PLN. A1 at the top, way up high, made the discovery. We got a parallel conductor called B1. We have found that it's not running parallel. It's tilting down a bit over, and so we're learning as we go. Investors don't like to see you miss, but the reality is, most of your drill holes when you're exploring are going to miss. But the question is, are you going to learn from them? And that's what our guys do, is when we miss, we look at the geology, we look at the geochemistry of the hole. What model thesis we have in our head, and versus what the geochemistry and et cetera are showing through it. So, it's like a puzzle. And you're always gathering more information when it comes to this. But our focus is definitely PL1. We've also got A1. We got A1 conductor. We've also got A3, A2. So this project has got a lot of legs to it, and that's kind of why we announced a spinout of F4. What we're going to do is take our non-core assets, except for the discovery we've made in this area, there's 4 or 5 projects. We keep those there, and then we spin out into F4, and let people focus on the projects like Murphy Lake, Cree Lake. They deserve to be drilled. These are very good, targets. They've been methodically looked at, and so we're excited about the stage. I guess we're about $35 million in the bank. Obviously, what excites me is the stuff that I've been, a lot of us CEOs on uranium companies, we've been yapping about how, nuclear power is the only baseload power with no carbon footprint. It's just taken parts of our investment community to come around and say, holy crap, we need energy. Like the thesis for F3 starts with basically saying we need a lot more energy than we have. Right? I think out of 8 billion people, only 3.5 billion people don't have enough energy as it is. So as, people in India and China move into that middle class, they need more energy. And then you need more energy for electric vehicles. You need more energy for AI. And you're seeing the things that you're seeing is overwhelming sometimes when I see Amazon wanting to set up small reactors for some of their places. AI people want to do the same thing. Why? Power. We need power. And the other pressure is to have clean power. So while we wait for renewables, because it's a waiting game because the costs are too high and not dependable. Whereas, and they're trying to get away from fossil. I'm not sure that's possible. But if these politicians, they are finally waking up. Before it was always, oh, don't worry, renewables will save us. Well, they've learned that in Germany. They've learned that in California. It doesn't work, right? We need lots of energy, and until we can transition away from fossil fuel, we definitely need nuclear power as part of that mix. So I've never been, like I said, I've been in this industry for so many years, so many cycles, but I've never seen the public, politicians, and real actions by politicians like Joe Biden, and billions of dollars are coming into the nuclear reactor space. That's what we need. We need to extend the reactors we've got in the US, and we need to build more. So I've never seen such general support for nuclear power than we've seen recently.
A lot of different areas I can go with that. But one thing I want to ask you about is, because you spent quite a bit of time in the Athabasca Basin. Now,
Right.
My understanding from just our own analysis and reading various technical reports and going on the Saskatchewan government's website is that it costs about $15 per hectare per year to maintain claims. Is that
pretty low.
accurate? And
I would have to ask Ray that exact number, but it's cheap. It's very, very cheap to hold on to land. And it also depends on how you picked it up. Is it a large group, or there are different ways of looking at it, but it's super cheap. You don't have to do a lot of work on the basin to keep your properties. That's never been a checkbox for us, because we didn't buy those properties to sit on them. We bought those properties to do something with them, advance them. Because we are a project generator model. We've got a joint venture with Traction, and we've got a joint venture with a group called Camp that's getting back listed on Murphy Lake. We're talking to 2 or 3 other groups. So our goal is to focus on our 2-3 main projects, but our other projects are pretty good. There's not a big gap like we got Superstar or something down here. No, these are good projects that deserve to be drilled. And that's why Rick Rule says, it's your property, it's your land, somebody else's money, because drilling is, but, there are not many, other than, like I said, gold jumping up recently, uranium is one place where you can, if you've got a good project, you've got good management, you can raise money. You couldn't say that about gold 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Now you can.
yeah, and still gold's even still pretty early into that. I mean, there's still some companies with some pretty significant discoveries, cash on the balance sheet, that are trading at, tiny valuations. I think we've still got some time if you're interested in that trade.
Well, I agree with you.
So you're chatting with institutional investors that are kicking tires on uranium, I'm sure.
Right.
You've mentioned some of the more well-known Canadian junior mining investors, people like Rick Rule and Doug Casey. What's the conversation like right now when you chat with institutional investors about uranium? Are you noticing that there's been any sort of a shift or any sort of a trend, and what are the kind of questions they're asking you about?
I think, first of all, people are pretty excited in general. I think people in general are excited to be in uranium because every day you look up something about Amazon or AI or somebody else saying we need power, right? That blows away my mind after all these years that you've got these household names waking up and saying, we need more power. In fact, we're going to build a small nuclear reactor. Like, to me, that stuff is just, it's mind-blowing. So the general talk is we've had a big run to $106. Now it's pulled back. We need different events to happen to get people excited for a bull market. I mean, the stocks are still doing okay, but they're not, like somebody said to me, it looks like these uranium stocks are trading like uranium is 67, $50, $60 somewhere in there. right? Because they're trading at the same prices back then. Here we now almost $90, and it doesn't trade like that. But I think most of us know that there's a like most other commodities, gold included, there's a big gap between equities and the commodity. So I obviously the big wild card could be the U.S. eliminating Russian uranium. If that happened,
It's game on.
It's game on, and uranium will go. I can see that floating back towards 140, 150. And Canada, Athabasca would be in a great position to add to that.
Dev, I normally don't like asking questions about what's happening on social media, but one of the things that I've noticed when we look up your symbol that there seems to be some general discussion and criticism of the company on social media is the use of RSUs and stock-based compensation.
Sure. Right.
Can you give us some color on that? And
yeah. Oh yeah. I get it. People saying, what are they doing? Well, the one problem we drill 12 months of the year. What that means is there's a blackout period. So whenever we're drilling, except for 2 weeks spring breakup, we drill all year long. That means people cannot buy stock or sell stock. So despite our, going from 6 cents all the way up to 55, our insiders never sold a share. And so what we do is to keep good employees. People wonder, the question is, why have we made 3 discoveries? Simple, good people. And I've kept those same people now for, going back to 2010. So how do you keep good people? Well, you pay them well, you pay them above market, and then you do things to make sure they hang around. And RSUs are a great way of doing it. They're going to stick around. And so if you don't value people, I get it. It's our style to hold on to our good people, which have led to 3 discoveries. When somebody else has got 3 discoveries and they can do it by changing teams and free agents and stuff like that, we don't have that ability like sports teams, to go out and get free agents. It's hard to hold on to good people. And so it's a tool given to you. Why not use it? Right. And again, stock options, you only make money when the stock goes up. RSU, you got to be there for 3 years, and you can't really sell if you're an insider. So to me, it's just a common sense, great way to hang on to good people. And good people have got us 3 discoveries. If somebody else can find me somebody with 3 discoveries and they did it in a cheaper way, okay, let's talk. But nobody else has found 3 discoveries, have they? No.
Not that I'm aware of. Last question for you. If I'm an investor watching this, or a potential investor, and I'm just following the story, trying to do my due diligence, what does the remainder of 2024 look like? What am I looking out for in terms of milestones, timelines, that sort of stuff?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. The spinout obviously is an event that if you're a shareholder, you'll get a new share of F4, which is exciting. What's exciting is that we got a significant another $9 million to go into A1, B1, and we might test A3 as well. So a lot of drilling, and that's I would say almost a hybrid stock. We are not true exploration. True exploration means you don't have anything, you're drilling, but we've got some pounds. The groups out, different banks and stuff have said you might have 16 million pounds, you might have 30 million pounds. So we know already that we've got some uranium. We're trying to add to it. So what does that mean? Investors who buy us, if uranium goes up, we will go up. But we can also make our stock go up through our drilling. So that's what I've always liked, investing in technical teams that are well-financed, who've done it before, made discoveries, and are aggressive in their drilling. And that's where I think we fall in that category. Funded, best technical team, again, I've heard of people finding maybe 2 discoveries, but no one's found 3. So I sleep well at night knowing that if anybody is going to find another deposit, I like our chances as good as anybody else. I'll put it that way, at least, because we're learning when we're drilling. And I think, we have found keep in mind, we found uranium at the unconformity, which is where the milkshake hits the basement. So that's a different kind of deposit. We have found 2 deposits now in the basement. So we know what to look for in both kinds of discoveries, not just one or the other. So it's an exciting year because I think uranium, we could be in for a crazy ride if Russian uranium is knocked out. And if we were to hit another pot of uranium, I think that will knock the stock up. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be in, I think, the energy business, period. And the way, we need so much energy, and now we want clean energy. And like I said, there's so much positive stuff that comes out from everyday companies who are saying, how do we enough power? Oh, nuclear power. Let's do a small reactor. That never, I can tell you, that's never been there before.
Well, Dev, thanks very much for hopping on here. Our audience loves when we have some of the more popular uranium companies on here. Congratulations on especially your most recent discovery at the PLN the PLN Junior Zone, and hopefully you'll come back on here in the future and update us as you guys hit some more major discoveries.
You got it. Thank you so much. Have me on.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, everyone.